A lot of people have been asking about who would take over as the next owner if or when Dan Snyder finally is forced to sell the Washington Commanders. And there are a lot of people who it's probably more wishful thinking than anything else, but they'll bring up the name of Joe Gibbs. Now, I love Joe Gibbs. I believe I probably have said this before that I consider Joe Gibbs kind of a father figure in sort of a way because when I grew up watching the Redskins play on Sunday, part of what drew me to watching them play was our coach seemed like he was so like level-headed and just had this calming effect, right? Like you never saw Joe Gibbs get upset, and he never used foul language, and he always like gave God the glory for wins and things like that. And because of all that, I really looked up to Joe Gibbs, and so all these years, you know, it was like I would probably fight to the death to defend one Joseph Jackson Gibbs because I really admire the man so much. I would love to meet him. I mean, I've never gotten to meet Joe Gibbs. Uh, that would mean more to me than anything in this world, honestly. It feels like, um, but many people, would say, why can't we get Joe Gibbs to be owner of the team? I think if anybody who Dan Snyder would be willing to cede the ownership to would be Joe Gibbs because he admires Joe so much. Well, the reason why I think that would not be a good idea is, well, Joe is, I'm not sure exactly how old, but I want to say he's probably pretty close to 80 at this point, if not in his 80s. He is running a very successful NASCAR team, and he's very highly involved in that. He loves the Washington Commanders, Redskins football team, whatever you want to call them. And I get flack for that all the time because you have the PC people who are like, it's the Washington Commanders. And I don't give a crap. Call them what you want. They're a football team. And Joe Gibbs coached the Washington Redskins. Okay? So, that being said, as much as he loved and loves this team, I don't think he would be the best one to own it because, for one thing, how long would he be around to have the ownership until we would have to go through the same thing again of having to have another owner? And I'm not trying to speak in terms of being morbid, but Joe is getting up there in age. I believe Jack Kent Cook passed away in his late 80s, but honestly, he had already pretty much had given up day-to-day activities of ownership long before he passed away, because his health had really declined once he got into his 80s. And having said that, I know that Joe is still pretty active with his NASCAR, and as far as I know, he's in pretty good health. But I don't see Joe being one who would want to own the team. Now, maybe he would purchase the team for his family. Maybe there's a son. I know he had a son who passed away not too long ago who was involved with NASCAR. I don't know if his children, his surviving children, would really be interested in owning the Washington Commanders. But if so, would they have the same work ethic and, the DNA basically that it takes to be successful and to, grow a successful franchise? Maybe. Hopefully, they would have learned enough from their father to have picked up a lot of that. But I feel like that the NASCAR team is probably something that would get passed on to them, and that's probably plenty for them to have their hands full with. So that's why I feel like Joe would not be the best for ownership. Now, from a strictly standpoint of personality and love, genuine love for the team and looking out for the best interest and management of the team, yes, Joe would be top notch because it seems like anything that Joe touches turns to gold. I mean, Joe has always had that knack. He is one of those leader leader of men type of guys. And again, I think that's why I looked up to him so much. Um, if you get a chance, get his book. I think it's called The Game of Life. It's a testimonial book, but it will really inspire your life. And Joe, he is just one of those men that is a leader of men. And he doesn't have to do it through a hard nosed, cursing, everybody out sort of approach. He does it from a respectable, stern approach, but yet this, this calming approach that you just respect the man so much that, you don't want to fail in his presence, right? You want to succeed because he's going to put forth 110% effort. Why would I put any less effort into it? The man, when he was coaching the Redskins, he would sleep on the cot at Redskins Park during the week to prepare for the game on Sunday. And, I think it was Doc Walker who would say, if that man would, you know, put in that much detail and sacrifice and um, that much effort into building a winner and that much effort into his job, why would you even remotely think it'd be a good idea to contribute anything less than what Joe did? And I think that's the reason why his teams were so successful throughout the years, was that there was a challenge to contribute more than what Joe Gibbs contributed. And that is the type of owner that you want for an NFL franchise. One who is going to contribute, not just monetarily wise, but, truly has their heart. And I'm not saying Dan Snyder did not necessarily have or has the heart for the team. I think he does love the team. I think he is a fan of the team. But I don't think that he understands the right approach. And I think that he's not a leader of men. And I think you need a leader of men when it comes to running a franchise, when it comes to coaching a team, running an organization, management within your job, within your department. You need, and I'm not trying to sound sexist, because women can be leaders of men as well, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, you can be such a respectable person and show such leadership that people are going to respect you and want to work for you. And that can come from both a woman and a man. But I'm just speaking in terms of football here. That is who you need from the ground up. And Joe would be perfect in that instance. Unfortunately, I think with his age and with him being so busy with NASCAR, I don't think that Joe would be perfect in that instance. But I love him. I really, if anybody knows any way at all, and I know that my viewership has declined here, but if there's anybody who happens to still be watching these videos and they just happen to know any way that I can ever meet one Joseph Jackson Gibbs, just so I could just tell him what I've told you, that would be awesome, because I've looked up to the man for all these years. And with my dad passing away, this year, I wasn't going to do this. I miss him a lot. And it's always been a dream of mine to meet Joe Gibbs. You know, um, I'm sorry, I haven't slept well. I'm getting over COVID. I guess I'm just overly tired and overly emotional. But yeah, I just would love to meet the man someday. You know, before that opportunity is gone. I'm going into this video. You guys take care. I'll see you in the next one.
Hey, you stayed until the very end. Thank you so much. Watch another one right now.